Adam Jogee, new MP for Newcastle-under-Lyme.
That's
Yes,
it. Yeah, in the
brilliant.
heart of our country.
Yeah, in the up in Staffordshire, since July 2024. As I've been saying to the other people who are doing this edition of Book Club with me, you've not stopped all year. But here we are, Christmas coming. And you get the chance, I think, to sit down for a little bit. What books would you like to receive this Christmas?
Oh, well, thank you, Liz, for having me along. I was always an avid reader as a kid. Like when we go out shopping on a Sunday, I used to take two books because I couldn't work out which one I wanted. And mum and dad would be like, "You're not going to be able to read both, so what are you doing?" So come from a family of readers. I have actually just recently sent my wife, my mother-in-law, and my mum my Christmas list, and on them is a request for the Robert Caro books on LBJ.
Oh my goodness!
I've read them,
All four of them.
all four of them. Yeah, I've read
Yeah.
them, but I want to read them again now I'm an MP myself because I think some of the
Mhm.
lessons around
Mhm.
the execution of power and what you can do with it to make lives better for people is a timely reminder for me and my colleagues. But also having my own copies would be great. So I've asked for the Caro books. It was my birthday yesterday, and I got a couple of
Oh,
books from my mum and dad.
happy
So
birthday! What'd you get?
I got Robert Hardman's King Charles III,
Oh, okay.
and I got Zainab Badawi's new book on essentially the history of Africa, which I'm looking forward
Oh,
to reading.
and so you haven't started those yet, but
No, I read a
they're
couple of pages of the Robert Hardman, and then I fell asleep last night. So no reflection on the book.
No,
More
no,
it
no,
was half
no,
at night.
no. It is. You just get to that point where okay. Oh, well, all of those sound wonderful. I mean, if you got Robert Caro, you just wouldn't move for about 2 months, would you? Really, till you work
Which
your
would, in
way.
some ways would be nice when you look at some of the diary.
Unsurprisingly, on this book club, we have already talked about Robert Caro, and the big debate is which volume people think is the best one of the lot. People seem to be roughly divided between the one that shows him, or the one about the 1948 Senate
Yeah,
race in Texas, or the one about the mastery of the Senate. Either, I think, are just brilliant.
yeah, they are real classics.
So what books are you going to be giving to people this Christmas?
So there's a few. My I've got to be careful because I don't want my wife to hear this, but in
It,
advance. But
it's all right.
there's a few things. One, the Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. I first read
Yeah,
that when I was 8, and it's a
yeah,
default gift for people.
yeah.
So I've got two of those copies for folks. Just thinking, actually, my sister's gift to me were Waterstone's book tokens yesterday, which hopefully is demonstration of my commitment to reading. Um, and
What's not to like?
well, exactly. But I was at a local event last Saturday in Newcastle-under-Lyme, and I met this guy called Ant, who is a local author, and he's written a book about the history of Newcastle-under-Lyme, framed through the eyes of a young guy. I haven't read it yet, but framed through the eyes of a young guy who views the city um, through his eyes, and the town and the city of
Okay.
Stoke-on-Trent more widely next to us. So um, it's about our ancient borough and our neighbours over in Stoke. So I've got 4 copies of those. I'm going to give to 3 of my really good mates here in Parliament. And also, yesterday, cut a long story short, but my wife and I happened to be with Dame Judi Dench,
As you
and
do.
as you do. But more importantly than that was she gave us a beautiful sonnet. So I'm going to go and buy my wife
Uh,
a book of sonnets because they're really cool. B, Judy does in an amazing way, and C, it just shows the power of language.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, yeah, tell me all the whys and wherefores after that. But what a cracking thing to do! What is it? The guy who pays the rent, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, is that's how she refers to him? To Shakespeare.
Something along those lines. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
which is very, very cool. I was going to say to you about that, ask you about local authors. I mean, I don't know your part of the world very well at all, and the only thing that came to mind was Arnold Bennett
Yep.
and the Five Town,
Hmm.
and which I read when I was very young. I mean, they're very they're they're very Arnold Bennett, aren't they? But do people there still think a lot of them?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we are a very proud ancient borough, so we are on the other side of the A500. The towns to which Bennett referred now make up Stoke-on-Trent, but we're neighbours. We're good neighbours. We're
Yeah.
friends, and there's a real legacy of Bennett. I mean, there's just uh, just up from Peach's Chinese restaurant, which is a very good place. In Newcastle-under-Lyme, on the corner of Orme Road, there's a blue plaque which talks about Bennett having stayed there. There's roads in my constituency, but also obviously over in Stoke-on-Trent that make reference to both his works, but also him.
Mhm.
Um, and so he is very much in a wider North Staffordshire sense a local success story, for want of a better word. But there's a legacy that lives on, through the posties dropping letters into Arnold Grove and the rest of it, right? So he lives on for sure.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's interesting Newcastle-Lyme because more widely, there's a massive cultural offer. So we've got the New Vic Theatre. You've got some amazing young people doing some really fabulous things. We've got Keele University and the arts obviously plays well up there. So you can go to Performing Arts College in town. So you can really see the modern version both of the power of word, of the arts, of humanities, of history, and which obviously makes me very proud to represent it. I was always a bit of a nerd, obviously, as a kid, and I think for me, the power of reading. Mandela talked about, there's no functioning. I paraphrase, but there's no functioning society if there isn't one without good education and access to it, and that
Mhm.
is how we collectively, as lawmakers, you and I, Liz, but more generally, people should view the power of the written word. I was always raised to write thank you letters to every single person who's done something for me or helped me out, and I still do.
Mhm.
And people kind of now, there's a bit of an old joke, oh, have you had a Jogee letter kind of thing. And that written word thing and the ability to share ideas and values and teachings and experiences, I think is really powerful.
Yeah, I think, reading is the great liberation, isn't it? You can
Mm.
go anywhere in your head if you can read. And I suppose I always associate your part of the world, probably because of the sort of legacy of Arnold Bennett, with that sort of 19th century civic philanthropy and institutions like libraries and schools and all of that. And I kind of get the sense that there might be still something of that around. Is that right?
Oh yeah, for sure. If you look at the Guildhall in the middle of town, there's a plaque which makes reference to the mayor of the time. His name's up there. You've got um, the uh, the circus rooted in Newcastle-under-Lyme
Mhm.
originally, and there's a real sense of both history and future that binds itself together, and you can feel that. We've got Keele University, as I say, which is, I guess, a modern structure through which the age-old sharing of ideas, of history, of identity
Mhm.
can be passed through. So yeah, no, there's very much a real fierce sense of our identity itself, but also um, of, as you say, that characteristic 19th century sense of let's be good neighbours, and you can see that in some of the legacy around. The old baths, and then you had the mines, and what that meant for the industrial revolution and the contribution to the development of our economy locally and nationally. You can see that through the many people who moved to our part of the world in different stages. Now you've got people from all over the world moving to work at the hospital, the Royal Stoke. Back then, you had people leaving Ireland and
Mhm.
Wales and other Scotland to go work in the mines. So there's that constant churn and change of people who
Mm.
really make our diverse part of the world what it is. So I think that the bonds of history are alive and well. And there's on the odd occasion some 19th century thinking from the Tory Borough Council, but that's part of the course. And uh, but yeah, there's a real sense of pride and identity, which I think is really powerful.
Brilliant. Any other books by any political heroes or anything that you'd like to recommend?
Well, I'll tell you what I've just finished reading. A fabulous book about Jimmy Carter, who was
Oh,
100 on, I think, October the 1st.
yes.
Longest lived US president in history, and I suspect will
Mhm.
hold that title for a long time, although obviously you can't predict that. And a really, really interesting read that talks through his journey. His mother was a midwife. She quite often helped
Mhm.
birth black children of women who worked on plantations and in the
Mhm.
um, the farms in that bit of southern Georgia, and that journey from the peanut farmer through to the White House, and then 40
Mm,
years afterwards doing amazing things in all parts of the world. Really, really good read.
mm,
There's a great book by a guy called David Coltart, who was minister in the Zimbabwean Government of National Unity from 2008 2013. White guy. I think he was the only white minister at the in that government of national unity. Maybe there were two, but certainly he was the most senior. And he talks about what it was like being forced to serve in the Rhodesian Civil War and then build his life in his home and what that challenge looked like. So I read that quite recently. That's an excellent read. And I'm trying to think what else I've just finished.
no,
Oh, a great read called Say Nothing.
what's that?
So my wife's from Northern Ireland. I've got a real fascination with Irish history,
Mm,
particularly since about 1900, and looking at the Troubles
mm,
and the Easter Rising and the emergence of a free state and the rest of it.
mm.
And a really good read, quite a harrowing one about some of the pain and
Mm.
suffering and blood and murder and sweat and tears that defined Ireland and its history in the 20th century, or most of it anyway. But that was a really good read, and there's actually a Disney series now about it on
There,
Disney.
there was a brilliant uh, series of BBC programs about when it was around about the 50th anniversary of the Trouble, and they really really went into stuff in great detail. And having been a kid who watched it happening every night on the TV when I was little, understanding it from listening to the people who were part of it, but also
Oh yes, I
some
think I saw that. Yeah,
journalists. Yeah, that really was
yes,
absolutely
yeah.
absolutely
And it's
amazing.
funny, part of the healing process on the island of Ireland, but particularly in the north,
Mm,
has been through people writing down their ideas and their
yeah,
experiences and sharing that. And I think that is one way of A, getting it off your chest, but B, helping
mm,
others understand who and how and why and what you went through. The so much progress has been made. I mean, when I got married a couple of years ago, we got married over there, and a load of my mates flew over from England, never been there before, and a couple of them I think were serious, like, is it safe? It's like, of course it's
yes,
safe, right? But the legacy of what went down and what that meant to people, the perception and the stigma stays much longer than all the good that takes place to bring people together and to break down barriers. But it's amazing how much the written word has helped dilute some of the
mm,
toxicity and fear, because I think fear underpins so much of this, right? Fear of
yeah,
the other, what they do, how they live, who they are, and the rest of it.
yeah,
But yeah, reading has definitely formed a big part of my life.
and mine too. Thank you very much for that suggestion, particularly the one about Zimbabwe. I think I'll have a look out for that.
When's
Maybe
your birthday, Liz?
uh, end of January actually.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. If you want to read it, I will. I will happily help make that a thing.
Marvelous. Thank you very much. And thank you for the other ones too. And I wish you a very, very happy Christmas,
And to
one
you.
in which you get the chance to just settle down and read. And thanks for making the time to share it with us.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it.
See you next Christmas.
And you too. Take care. Bye.